Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lynn Komansky, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Michigan. Thank you for taking part in this Unite and Rise National Day of Action sponsored by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. Today is an opportunity not only to remember an important chapter in our nation's history, but also to affirm our commitment to protect everyone's right to vote. This week marks the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark law made possible by the courage, determination, and sacrifice of people who believed that every American deserves a voice in our democracy. We're honored to share Three Marches, Two Sisters, One Bridge, a documentary that tells the story of the 1965 Selma marches through the experiences of two sisters, Alice Moore and Denise Jarnigan Holt. After the film, we'll be joined by Charles Thomas Jr., nephew of the two sisters, and also a member of the League of Women Voters of Detroit and board member of the League of Women Voters of Michigan. Charles and his aunts will have a conversation about the film, helping us connect the lessons of the past with the work that lies ahead for us. And now, the film.
It was not easy. It's not easy to remember. I have not walked across that bridge since Bloody Sunday.
We did not obey their rules. Stop marching, go home, go home.
The nation was shocked by the brutal attack.
There were no school counselors. We didn't have counselors. We buried it.
There's still a lot of black people from the times that hasn't told their story. There's stuff that's missing in history.
We demand that you allow us the same rights that you allow to every other citizen when it comes to participating in democracy.
You don't really see what's waiting for you on the other side until you're far too ahead to turn back.
What happened to us back then is happening again today.
Born in Alabama. Now, my daddy had an 8th grade education, so he would pull a chair up to the radio and he listened. He knew all the things of the world because he sit there and listened to the radio. He really wanted, they all wanted to vote in the neighborhood, but he really wanted to become a registered voter.
At the age of 7, I didn't understand sharecropping. He had a cotton field, and he would have to give the money to a white man, and somebody else is collecting the money for your work. Well, there's something wrong with this picture, but you accepted that only because you didn't know any better. But it really hit is when my parents tried to go register to vote.
They tried for a very long time to become registered to vote. Anybody of color that tried to register, they were degraded. People had different tests, guess the number of jelly beans in the jar, naming every county in Alabama. Some got through and registered. They even sent them to the wrong locations to vote, and their vote never got counted. Those were the things our parents were facing, and they came back, disappointed
And that was a hard thing to watch them be humiliated. I'm too young to vote. I'm too young to register. And you wonder, what can I do to make it better for them? We had to walk to school every day.
Everybody's in the same room, sitting around a wooden stove. We were 2 years apart from school classes, so, I didn't hang with Denise. She didn't want to hang with me. We didn't get together like that until later on. I spent time in Snow Hill, where I went 3 years, and there, things were a little different. I had different opportunities, like they had a band, and I was a majorette, home economics, a music teacher, other avenues of life that we didn't know anything about. So when I got to Selma, I was really a rebel right then, we were ready to get into things. We were smart kids, but we ran around. You don't hear about it, but Selma had a bus. It wasn't a big bus like the MARTA in Atlanta or anything, but it was 25 cents to ride. They came around in the neighborhood. Some of the older people took the bus and went right to the back of the bus. There was a place that had hamburgers, and we had to go to the window. It was like 2 miles outside of the city of Selma, and there's nobody on the bus but us. There's no seats taken, but we still could not sit. Why do we have to go all the way to the back? And that was when we decided we weren't going to the back, and we got kicked off. We told our parents, and so they stopped going on the bus. So in turn, the bus stopped running. SNCC came into town,
And they started passing out flyers and things at school and around the neighborhoods,
soliciting kids at all schools in the area and
inviting us to the meetings.
somebody is in town. He's looking for students to march for the Voters' Rights Act, and that was John Lewis. Denise was younger. My mother did not want her to go, but if she went with me, because I was the oldest, we both had to go together and to stay together. Or she became connected to my hip then. It's like I was to watch after her.
And I was kind of shy, but this was something that I thought I just gotta do. I need to do.
Everything was happening at the Brown Chapel Church, all the mass meetings. We had instructions telling us what could happen, what may happen, how to protect yourself, trying to instill in us that it was a nonviolent organization. We weren't just put out there to do whatever. It was very well structured.
I didn't know what to expect.
Of course, our school said we could not take part.
We wanted to go and march one day at school, and the principal wouldn't let us go. So Alice and I had a conversation that evening or that night. When we go to school tomorrow, we're gonna knock on all of the doors and get the students and go downtown Selma, and we're gonna march. So we did that, and all the kids were coming out of their rooms, and that's when the principal got on the PA system and said, if you all don't get back in your room, you're gonna be expelled. So we obeyed and went back to our classroom. Nobody wanted to be expelled. But then fate would have it, the principal went downtown Selma that same day and got beat on his head and came back the next day, and over that same PA system, he says that anybody that wants to go march, you're free to go. And from that day, it was march after march after march after march.
So, we were young, we were fearless kids. Sit-ins, courthouse, wherever we were sent to demonstrate, we got arrested there. Load us up on buses. They'll take us to the local jailhouse, keep you for a few hours, and let you go.
Every time we went out, every time they locked us up. We went to jail every day.
Boys were treated a little harsher. My daddy never went. My mother took us there. More young girls participated. We were trained not to fight back. If they hit you, you had to endure. And a lot of boys could not take that. They wanted to fight, and they knew that. As the groups grew, they started using like a hot rod to get you on the bus It got bigger. The crowd got bigger. The students became plenty. Now they don't have enough places to put all the students at one time.
Locked us up in the community center. 200 or 300 people in there. They used chains to lock the doors from the outside. But still, there was no fear because I'm going to see this to the end. But this one day, they had buses there waiting for us, loaded us on the buses like we were cattle.
And we were taken outside of Selma, out of town, which was the first time that had happened, to a prison camp.
For about 10 miles outside. Nobody knew where we were.
They had the prisoners move out of the cells, move out in the courtyard with their mattresses.
When we got to the prison camp, they took our fingerprints. And the guy that did my fingerprints, he said, you know, this is going to Washington, D.C. This is going to follow you for the rest of your life. And I said, if I leave, that's going to follow me for the rest of my life. I'm not going. I'm going to stay here.
It didn't scare us at all at first. The second night, we realized things are real serious. And nobody knows where we are. Nobody's coming to get us out.
A toilet in one corner and one in the other corner. All of the girls were in this room.
I knew my little group from my school. There was about 6 schools in the county and then one big school downtown. We didn't know each other. And of course, when we went out every day, we didn't go out dressed as if we weren't coming home.
With the clothes on us that we had, we didn't have any jackets or anything like that. We used our bodies for the heat, but we stayed on that cold concrete floor for 4 days. We sang, prayed, talked. We would do anything to piss them off.
Yeah, they begged us to be quiet and stop singing. And as long as we did that, the guards could not go home. So,
Oh, freedom.
oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. Before guards kept telling us, they'll let you go if you just be quiet and stop singing and stop doing that. Stop chanting. They just wanted to make a statement, but it wasn't working out that way. And then we would go into name, ain't gonna let Jim Crow turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. We started trying to put our heads together, and one girl did say she had asthma. So she faked an asthma attack, and they put her in a car and took her back, dropped her off at Carver Home, right across the street from the church. And I heard him when he got back and said she ran like a jackrabbit, went to somebody's house and told everybody where we were.
They didn't know we were dead or alive or what they had done with us.
3 nights, and that 4th day is when they rescued us. They came to bail us out. John Lewis and all of the other dignitaries came there. We were told that that fingerprint would be destroyed and it would not follow us anywhere. And we have no record of arrest. They made them destroy all of those files. They were already kind of planning a march to the Capitol, going to Montgomery. One of the young men, Jimmy Lee Jackson, got killed. He was from a town that's not too far away. So after that, I think it escalated.
And at that time, we didn't really know how many people were going to go. So everybody came with their stuff.
We were going to march. The Board of Education, the superintendent for the schools was saying, you cannot let your children out of school to march. They cannot march. But march was going to be on a Sunday. We were excited. We were getting ready to now do something big. We prepared for that march. Mom went out and bought us a pair of shoes from the local store, and she gave us socks. Felt really good leaving the church. No idea of the magnitude of what we were faced with. We didn't have all the information. They had that. They told us what might happen. We didn't know the legalities of what had gone on or how it was planned or anything. We just
knew that we were going to be non-violent, we weren't going to fight. So when everybody left, was in good spirit to march to Montgomery, to march all the way.
Well, leaving Brown Chapel Church and you can't see what's on the other side of the bridge, singing.
We're thinking that we're on our way to Montgomery. We're going to march.
They allowed us one side of the street for the march across the river on one lane. And when we got to the top, the troopers were way down to the bottom.
All of these men on horses would whip the cow prods. And it was the drugstore owner, the grocery store owner was recruited.
They were deputized to do this job.
Some people behind could not see what's before us. And when they said stop and turn around, and we refused to turn around, it was just a full charge on the whole group.
As soon as we stepped off the bridge was when we got the blasts of tear gas. And I think I must have got a full blast.
It was nowhere to go. That's when Denise and I separated.
Everything just went crazy at that point.
Things just scattered, people got hurt, people ran in all directions. This was real.
A lot of people ran toward the river or the water to get away from the tear gas.
The horses and the billy club, the whips, tear gas. None of us expected to be that bad.
I ended up under the bridge, laying down, overcome with tear gas.
I don't know if I blacked out or what happened, but at that time, when I came to, there were two guys carrying me away from the tear gas.
And I got very, very angry. I don't remember ever getting that angry before. But what I said in my anger, and I spoke it, that I will fight more.
That night, we went back to the church to gather up our stuff that was scattered on the ground. Getting ready for the next march that we're going to do. Then Dr. King came to town.
I had never seen that many people in my life. People of all color, all walk of life that came. It was like, wow, it's like all of these people came from everywhere to participate in the march. They were now trying to get a legal permits. We went to the top of the bridge, and of course they were there waiting for us at that time. So Dr. King said, we're gonna all kneel and we're gonna pray. We kneeled and prayed, and then we turned around and went back to the church. And then it came the next 2 weeks after that, the next Sunday is when we finally made it across the bridge and the walk from Selma to Montgomery. They only selected 300 people. And I just sitting there like, how did we get in the 300? I don't know. It's like I didn't raise my hand, but here we are, Had plenty of socks and powder. There were supporters on one side of the highway, and there were people that were against us on the other side of the highway. Of course, they were there calling us every name that they could possibly call us. During the march from Selma to Montgomery, we did have National Guards that were supposed to be, protecting us. But as we marched by them, they would spit. Not on us, but just spit on the ground. Some of them would spit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you knew what they meant.
We had a break-in at the camp. We stepped outside on a pay. At one place, a college brought out like blankets and stuff like that. And after the third campsite, I was weary because it was wet there. That was almost to Montgomery. That's where I broke down because it was cold and wet out there sleeping on that grass, on that pit. It was cold, but I woke up and I was fine and kept on, But I didn't have sleeping bags. Yeah. I cried that night, that last rainy night at that campsite did me in.
I think we met up the next day to go to St. Jude so we could all go to the Capitol.
You know, you talked about how you know you got power when you walked in to Montgomery, that people waiting for you. Not that we got much recognition or anything afterwards, because other politicians, they take over there, and we were busy trying to get back home because that was a long walk. I just could not wait to get home. It was like we did it. It's like you just take a big breath and you just think about what you did.
That following few months, I was out of school. This was March, and in August, they passed the voters' right. And we had to go back to school. We just kind of sat on what we had done and waited to see what was going to happen. And
when they heard about it in the neighborhood, there was a man lived next door. He had a pickup truck. And he put the chairs on the back of the pickup truck and picked up everybody who did not have a way to get downtown to vote. To see them, it was something big had happened. It was like a weight that lifted me, because now I went back to school, buckled down, and did my senior year to graduate. You know, it's back to normal. Normalcy never was the same as it was before. It was like a new normalcy.
It was a hallelujah, amen day when that happened, that they finally could go register and vote.
Freedom, 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 oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me.
This is what this is about. It's about a fight for the right to vote. Even with having two aunts that were a part of that experience from beginning to end, it was not just the three marches. There were protests, there were arrests, there were detentions, there were all.
And how I started talking, over 50 years of not talking, was in the church, where she was having a Black History program, and she wanted me to come, and I'm in my shell, it's like, I don't do that. And she said, but you just did. I said, no. I said, I don't speak. She said, but would you just come? And with me going there, she took it and ran with it. My first article, that was the 50th anniversary. That was the first time anybody would listen. What they call a celebration, I made it clear I wasn't celebrating, I was remembering. And that was the first time I talked about it.
There were no school counselors. We didn't have counselors. I just started talking about this, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. I had a friend that said, why didn't you tell me? I never knew that about you. Because I could not talk about it. So I understand the trauma that kids can have, how much it can eat you up inside.
It doesn't take much for me to tell you now.
Because of what's happening now. Because we're going backwards.
We accomplished what we set out to accomplish.
I think what we did made a big difference. Do I feel betrayed? Yes. You all don't understand. When we went to a water fountain that said color, whites only, you've never experienced that. That's why voting to you does not matter. It meant something to us because we knew that we had to do something to remove those signs that said black, white only, color. They didn't even say black, colors. That's what we were called. We were color. Your parents and grandparents, great-grandparents, they went through that. You haven't. That's why you don't think your vote counts. That's why you don't think you need to go to the poll. They're trying to take that away from you. They're trying to take us back. We don't want that. You need to go to the polls. Go to the polls. Yes, there are crooked politicians out there. There are quite a few. If you don't vote, you're not going to get that person out. You have the ability to become a politician so people can trust you.
Because America has always understood the power of the ballot. Who should be allowed to vote? Who should be allowed to vote? Well, if we let poor folks vote, then they will dilute the power of the rich.
I think some of us might have let our guards down. They are losing their majority, and they don't like that. This control.
Our heads were buried in the sand.
My aunts were foot soldiers who marched from Selma to Montgomery for the right to vote.
Yeah.
That's why I traveled from Detroit to be here today to demand the Senate to vote no on this obvious segregation bill. People of color, indigenous people, and women, those who fought the hardest to obtain the right to vote, will be impacted most by this bill.
Yeah.
The SAVE Act harkens back to the times when those in power never wanted certain Americans to be able to vote. We need a democracy that works for all the people.
More people are coming together and speaking up. Their ideas are going to be different than ours. They're going to do things different than we did them. Let's get behind those people.
At what point did you realize that you had not just the ability to do something, but the power?
When you realize you have the power, it's when somebody else start acting scared.
Mm-hmm.
They were afraid of us, and what we were doing, it was too many of us. Power is in numbers. In numbers and determination.
Yeah.
You're not too young to start preparing yourself to lead this country, to be a part of what happened in your city, your state, in the United States. Be a part.
People sacrificed. People gave their lives for us to be able to vote.
It really opened up my eyes. I never knew. These type of things I never knew about.
Because like school don't teach us like that.
Because of all that has happened.
It shows me that's what I should do too if I feel like something's not right.
So we owe it to ourselves, to our ancestors, to leave that legacy and respect it and honor where we're going.
Built off of the legacy of the Harriets and the Douglases, the Turners and the Truths, understanding that we are not getting here without the price that was paid and what was accomplished on that bridge. We got some work to do, because this is about y'all. It's about y'all got now. You got now.
The marching and protesting that's going on right now, it's scaring some people. There's too many people out there. Too many people of all color, all races. And we keep doing it, we have the power. They were afraid of us like we weren't real.
We were soldiers fighting for what we believed in.
Prepare yourself. Keep your democracy.
You need not join the picket line if you can't stand the blows. But join your dimes with your dollars to be counted with our foes. Oh, which side are you on? Which side? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? God's children. Which side are you on? Come on, you freedom riders. A story I will tell. Back down in the prison, in a lonesome jail cell. Oh, which side are you on?
It is an honor to welcome Alice Moore, Denise Jarnigan Holt, and their nephew, Charles Thomas Jr. Charles, I hand the conversation over to you.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you to all that have joined in for this day of action as we commemorate the signing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And we indeed count it an honor to be included in those efforts with the League of Women Voters of Michigan, and to be included in the space for me personally with my two aunts, Alice Moore and Denise Holt. Again, I count it a great honor and a privilege to not only be a part of the League of Women Voters of Michigan, but I have even a greater honor of being a part of this heritage and this history. It's not my story. We have some great filmmakers that got together and decided that this was a story that needed to be told. So I want to acknowledge our executive, co-executive producers, Holly Mosher and Lisa Liddell, who are both in California. And then we have Daniel Land, who is the cinematographer and director, and Ples Moore, who is part of the editing team. And then they gave me the title of producer. I'm still not sure what it is that I was supposed to be doing, but hopefully it was done. Well, at least I carried my part, however big or small that was. And so what I've been asked to do is to lead in a Q&A with my aunt so that we can talk about not just the film, but where it is that they feel like we are and where we need to go based upon where we are in our current day's events. And so I'm going to ask my aunts just to say hello, and then we will go from there. So we'll start with Aunt Alice, if you can come off mute and just introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, I'm off of mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can barely hear you, and I tried to turn my computer up, but I'm hearing you a little bit better now.
Aunt Denise.
Hi, everybody. I can hear you well.
All right, very good. And so Aunt Alice was the 16-year-old, and there might be some problems with her video. So, but we can hear her, and that's great. And then Aunt Denise was the 14-year-old. And so I just want to ask a few questions again to try to lean into not just the work, but again, what your thoughts are now. And so my first question for both of you was actually given to me by a friend, and she wanted to know, and she's also seen the documentary at another juncture, but she wanted to know, at 14 and 16 years old, what did resilience look like for you and your fellow marchers as minors on that walk from Selma to Montgomery? And how did your parents, which would be my grandparents, feel about you being out there? Aunt Alice, you want to go first?
Why don't you pass on and go on to Denise, because I'm still not hearing you completely.
Okay, go ahead, Aunt Denise.
Okay, so you're asking, how did our parents feel about it?
Yeah,
Well,
and what did resilience look like for you? I mean, what made it so that, you all, found the courage and the strength to keep coming back?
we found, I personally found the courage to keep coming back because you get tired of your parents being humiliated, trying to do something that they should have automatically been able to do. It's humiliating when they came home and still couldn't register to vote because they couldn't tell how many jelly beans were in the jar, or how many and name all the counties, all 66 counties in Alabama. Some people even said they even wanted to know how many bubbles in a bar of soap. So it was just humiliating to, you know, for them to go through that, and it was disheartening to me to watch them go through that. My mother, she was a trooper because she was the one that took us, for the marches. Every day that we went, she took us. And I did worry about her when she was coming back home by herself, what were they going to do to her? So it was rough, but I was in for the long haul.
And Alice, are you prepared to speak to that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, they just wanted to know pretty much what made it so that you found the courage to keep coming back, and what were your thoughts as far as how your parents, which would be my grandparents, felt about you all being out there.
Okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, what gave me the courage to continue to fight? It was for our parents, and especially my dad, my mom too, but my dad was desperate to become a voter. And that was my determination to keep fighting. And of course, I could not vote or anything, but to see the parents disappointed when they tried to vote, that was my determination to keep fighting.
Okay, and so the next question that was given to me is, what were your thoughts as you prepared to march, and what has kept you alive and coming back? What keeps you coming back even right now in 2026?
Well, because we're going backwards. It seems that we're pretty close to where we were back in 1965. So, I mean, it's a continuous thing. We have to fight, fight, fight every day for our rights. So that's what keeps you coming back, because they're making it, trying to make it impossible for you to do the things that should automatically be able to do.
Did you want to add anything to that, Aunt Alice?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we'll have you take this question first then. I know that you all, well, I don't know, but I don't believe that you all had any meetings together where you just decided, well, we're just not going to talk about it, right? Whether you had this 50-year gap. And so this is one of my questions. My question is, what was involved in your decisions not to talk about the work that you were involved in?
Well, it was trauma that we had been through, and not talking about it. Basically, nobody wanted to listen. I had attempts several times to talk about it, and I had people to tell me, I don't want to hear about that old stuff. You know, it was like old stuff that had happened, and nothing had really, they didn't feel anything had been accomplished. So I got that a lot. And after getting that so many times, and the way I felt, and people saying they didn't want to hear about it, and I just kind of like went silent, because that was hurting to me, that nobody wanted to hear about what we had done at that time.
Denise?
I just totally buried it, period. And, you know, it was a traumatic experience, you know. And as I said in the video, we didn't have any counsels. We didn't have anybody to help us, you know, get through this or get over it. You know, I have a callus on the bottom of my foot now that I would not let the doctor remove, because I said I wanted to stay there to make me remember what we went through, to try and make it better for everybody. So I had no desire to talk about it until we started talking about it on the call. And we really wasn't talking about it then. It just happened to come up on the call.
And just to say a little bit about that, I did not even know that my aunts were engaged in this work. And I found out during COVID, when we could no longer have in-person family reunions, and we were having family reunions, we still do, virtually on Zoom. And they were arguing about, you know, how good or bad the food was in prison. And this is when it all unfolded. So I didn't know. But the other thing I want to say before I go to the next question to Aunt Alice is, I think they're listening now. I mean, it's a shame that it took the things to happen that are happening now, but I just believe that people are really ready to listen now, and that's why I really think that this documentary, your story, is going to be so powerful in the time that we're trying to navigate our way through. And so my next question, and Aunt Denise, you can go first. What are your thoughts on where we are today with the work that is being done to erase the gains that you all were a part of making? What are your thoughts and feelings about as you see these things going backwards?
Wake up call. It's a wake up call for people to get out there and do what you have to do. Get out there, register, not just register, get out there and go to the polls and vote. Vote for change. I mean, they don't want the video should show them you don't want to be where we were 65 years ago. If you don't get up and get out and spread the word that we need to go to the polls, we need to vote, then you're going to be in that situation that we were in 1965. Maybe not a march from Selma to Montgomery, but you're going to be marching someplace on the Capitol, wherever. You might even be marching in your cities, in your state. But it should be a wake-up call. What happened in 1965? We're almost back to 1965. Wake up.
Aunt Alice, did you want to add more to that?
Well, I think people are, they're listening and thinking about it, but I don't think they are in tune and haven't come to the realization really what we did. I mean, we tell the story, and all the people that we know and have tried to tell it, it's amazing to them now to see, to think about some of the things we've done. But there are a lot of people that they want to change, but they're not making a whole lot of effort to change. And I see a lot of that. There's a lot of hesitation in what they should do or what they should say, what they should join, where they should go, and what they should say in settings with other people. They're very cautious about what they say. That means that they're still afraid to speak up, and they're still afraid to step out there and take the chance that we did. I find that, there are quite a few people, they agree with us and, commend us, but they are not doing enough. And there are a lot of people that are doing a lot of things, but there are many that are very hesitant about moving on and just stepping out there and taking a chance to try to do something to make it better.
I don't think they believe what's going on now is really going on. I don't think they do.
And I just want to tap into something that both of you said. One was in the actual film itself, and something that Aunt Alice said early on, and we already talked about a little bit before I go to the next question. And that was, Aunt Denise, when you said you felt betrayed, or when you said, do I feel betrayed? Yes. And then Aunt Alice, you talked about the feeling when you were trying to tell people the story and they rejected you. Is there anger? And I'm going to say, I'll be the one to say it's okay. But does some of that exist as well?
I wouldn't say so much anger, there was hurt. I mean, not angry. Just if I tried to tell somebody my story and they didn't want to hear that was that hurt coming on. And that's what make you shut up and don't say anymore, because now you have like almost been humiliated for trying to tell somebody what happened. So it's very hurtful.
Yeah, they use the term re-traumatization. You getting traumatized all over again. What about you, Aunt Denise, when you talk about the betrayal?
I feel like at 14, I got out there. We were in danger. Our lives were in danger. Every time we went out on march, we were in danger. I spent all these 4 days, 3 nights, 4 days in a prison camp to try and make it better for everybody, and for somebody to tell me now I don't want to hear it. Yes, I feel, very betrayed, hurt that people don't want to accept what we did in order to make it better for everybody.
If I was in church, I'd say amen. But let me say this before we go to the next question. And that is that, we are again in a space and time where, I hope that people really recognize where we are, the things that are being done, and, the turning back of the clock. And so, again, it's just good that you are out here right now telling the story. So the next question is, what, to your mind, does the work look like for today? What when you look at what's going on, what do you think are some ways? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the way or that there's only one way. But what does the work look like today to your mind? And we'll start with Aunt Alice.
The work, you mean the work that others are doing or the work that I'm doing?
The work that you think will be effective. What do you think would be some of the most effective ways to fight against the new ways in which votes and voters are being suppressed?
Well, my thought about the new way is to reach another generation like us, and try to get them to have a voice. I think they listen to each other. There are more of them than us. And I think if we can get a younger generation like we were to be, and there are some, and I'm not saying there are not any, but there are not enough of the younger generation that's stepping up and just taking the handle and doing, because I think they will be listened to more than we were listened to, and more than I'm listened to, that someone listened to me now. If we were telling a story about what happened or what should happen, me and a young person standing by me, I think they would listen to that younger person more so than me. So the fight, I think needs to come from the next generation. If we can help them, encourage them, or teach them and have them understanding what we did and what they need to do. And we had the training from Congressman Lewis, but that's what I think our young people need, a leader, trainer to help them get in touch with what really is going on and really what they need to do.
What really needs to happen is, even at my age and people that's right under me, we need to get them to admit that what happened in 65 did happen. They have to first admit and understand that it did happen, and do a comparison to what happened back in 65 as to what's happening now. We were marching in 1965 so people could have the opportunity to vote. We're back doing the same thing now. We're marching in 2026 for people, trying to get people registered to vote. Because with this gerrymandering, all of that stuff like that, it's trying to keep you from voting. So they need to accept and understand, accept the fact. Yes, it happened in 65. Accept the fact. And in 2026, it's happening all over again.
And let me say this, and we only have like 3 more minutes before Madam Co-President is going to shut me down. But I want to say a couple of things, and then I want to ask a closing question. One is that, and Aunt Alice has already spoken to it a bit, is the fact, and it ties into what Aunt Denise just said, which is people minimize the work. They minimize the trauma. You have voices that were out there that were saying things like, well, nobody went out there, putting their life on the line. Well, that's just not true. People died. I mean, we can run down the list of folks that look like us and folks that didn't. Your Medgar Evers, your Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerners, your Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was the one whose death was the tipping point. You all knew that people actually died and that it could be you, but you went ahead and did it anyway. So yeah, we have to get to the point where we don't allow it to be acceptable for people to minimize the amount of courage that it took, because you did go out there knowing that your life could be taken, that your life was on the line. And so the other thing I want to say is that, again, and I keep saying it, I think people are listening now, and I believe that history will guide us. So let me just ask this last question, and so I hope I can be on time. What is the advice that you would give to those that are looking to hold the line and advance it? But just, a sentence or two. What would your advice be? Aunt Denise, you can go first.
Get out there and hold that line and advance. I gotta do it. So, I mean, answer this yourself. Get out there, hold that line. You got to, in order to advance it. Don't be brainwashed.
Aunt Alice?
Well, let them know that I think people might have in their mind they can do it a different way. Or they can get to where we need to get a different way, but they are not putting in the effort, the time, the sacrifice like we did to get there. So I think if they understand that it's going to take a lot of commitment and a lot of time, you may be hurt. And, if you're willing to suffer for what you're trying to get, then that tells you that somebody is interested in, we suffered for what we tried to do. We suffered and we came out okay, and things happened that era for what we did. There were things that happened, and that's what I think would be a good goal to try to reach. Do something. It can be drastic as long as it's something for the good.
All right. And so I'm going to take 15 seconds and then I'm going to pass it back to Co-President Lynn Komansky. First of all, well, thank you, Aunt Alice and Aunt Denise. But what I want to say is something that I said when we were in Grand Rapids. And that is that there is a difference between being told that you can't vote and saying I won't vote. And, it might be, and that seems to be where it's going, that people might only rise up when they're told what they can't do. And we don't want it to get to that point. But there's a big difference between having the right to say I won't vote and being told as a grown human being that you can't vote. With that, thank you all again. And I pass it back to Co-President Lynn.
Thank you, Charles, Alice, and Denise, for sharing your stories, your experiences, and your commitment to protecting our democracy. And I want to also thank everyone watching for joining us today in this day of action. As we leave this evening, let's remember that the rights that we have were won at great cost, which I think you saw evidence of in the film and in the conversation here. Courage, sacrifice, determination. We honor the Selma foot soldiers by taking the next step. Talk to your neighbors, share this information, urge people to get involved where they can, whether you're writing postcards or text banking, hosting events, building partnerships with other organizations, other people. Every single action collectively will make a difference. So I would just like to leave everybody with the message that together we can work toward an inclusive, multiracial democracy. And I thank you all for empowering voters and defending democracy. And I wish you a good evening. Thank you.